Hey, this is Sandy.
And Randy.
And we're here on AT Corner.
Being an athletic trainer comes with ups and downs, and we're here to showcase them all.
Join us as we share our world in sports medicine.
Welcome back to another episode of AT Corner. For this week's episode, we will be discussing something that I feel like every young, newly certified probably experiences.
So it's funny you say that because when I was putting together this episode, I actually I didn't realize that there were so many people who had felt imposter syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
It was surprising to me.
Yeah.
How prevalent it actually was.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like I've heard a lot of young, newly certified kind of discuss something like that. Even if they didn't name it, like imposter syndrome.
Okay, that's fair. I feel like it's actually more common now, and I don't know if it's the type of student who is now going through the program, or if we just name it more.
Oh, like it's more recognized,
right.
Maybe, or like you can put a name to it.
Right. This one was actually a request from Sierra C. She says, "Hi, I've listened to all your student to newly certified AT podcasts, and I was wondering if you could consider doing an imposter syndrome in AT podcasts. Like how you go about when you get an injury you didn't learn in school, or when it seems like there's nothing really there, but an athlete still has pain. I hear about so many ATs who feel like they don't really know until 5 years into the profession, and I would be interested in this topic. Love your whole podcast."
Oh.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, no, that's a good point. I feel like I do try to prepare my students for that situation. Like, you're not going to know every injury. There's still times like I'll get like a medical history. I'm like, what the hell is that? And I'll have to look it up. Right. I think as long as you have like the basics of like understanding just how injuries heal and stuff like that, like you can kind of figure those out. I think the one that really hit me was like the admin side.
Oh, okay. That's fair.
Like you're kind of like, especially for like a lot of institutions, like you're kind of the healthcare guy. So like when things happen, things go wrong, they look to you and be like, hey, what do we do? Like COVID was a big one. Like for a lot of young ATs who are in leadership roles, like
you're like, I didn't learn COVID in school. I didn't learn about pandemics.
And neither did the admins. So they're looking at you like,
okay, it's your realm.
Yeah, what do we do? And you're like, good question. Oh, I am the adult in the room, huh? So I think that was one that I probably felt imposter syndrome with the most.
I think I don't think that I had imposter syndrome in the same way. Like I think what you're saying resonates with me more than what I thought imposter syndrome was, like what I thought more people would have felt. Because to me, imposter syndrome, when I think of imposter syndrome, I think of like you don't feel qualified to be there. And I don't think that I've ever felt like not qualified. But I have felt like not prepared, maybe.
Okay.
Or like there may be other people who are a better fit.
Ooh, that one's hard.
Yeah. So like, especially as an athletic trainer coming from a performing arts background, like, I mean, I did like some traditional sports, but like that wasn't my primary.
Yeah.
So like growing up, the closest, I did a lot of like individual sports. I don't think I really did any team sports.
Yeah.
But really I did a lot of performing arts. So like going into these like team sports background, like basketball, I've never played. And so I think things like that, like I have felt a little bit more like there's people who know more than me and they are a better fit for this specific role, but I wouldn't say like a job was like...
Yeah, oh, that's a hard feeling though.
Right.
That's tough.
So I think in my head, I didn't think this was so prevalent because for me, it feels a little bit different because I feel like most people come from like a traditional sports background.
That's true. That's a good point.
But we actually did have 98% of people who said yes, they have felt imposter syndrome on our Instagram polls.
That's crazy. I feel like that's like one of the highest like skewed polls
that we've done.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that one had a couple hundred on it too.
Ooh,
so
that's good data right there.
Right. So it's not like just a random, like, we only had a few people who said no.
Yeah. That's crazy.
I think it's to some extent, right?
Yeah. Like, man, I'd be interested to like talk to the 2% in there and be like,
I was wondering about that too.
yeah, like, well, like why?
No, that's a good thing.
Yeah, no, well, that's what I would want to know. Is like, I don't know. I just want to know more now.
Right. One of the first things that I asked was how you recognized that it was imposter syndrome, because I think a lot of people have felt it. Like I have felt it to an extent, but I think that I didn't think that was what it was.
Yeah.
Right? Because my definition was a little bit different.
Well, yeah, if you don't know how to diagnose it, like if you don't know to diagnose it, then it doesn't get diagnosed, you know?
Right.
So if you don't test for it.
Exactly. So we did get a bunch of stories about how people recognize this, but I do want to pause really fast because I don't want to get too far into the episode.
We would.
Before we recognize that we got 2 new reviews. Yes.
Perfect timing for that.
I was so excited to share that one review. But I literally,
Yes.
as I was pulling up right now, right before we started recording this episode, we discovered that we have 2 new reviews, which is so exciting. There you go. So
that's really cool.
I'm going to read the first one if you want to read the second one.
Oh, yes. Heck yeah.
Okay, so the first one is from T. Volkland. This says, one of the best you guys have. And I assume, because it was posted right after we did our recent episode with Doctors Hagverdian, and I assume it has to do with the Achilles surgical series one. So I think this is what it's talking about. I have listened to many different of your podcasts, but this is seriously one of my favorites you guys have. The 2 perspectives was great. Please do more along these lines. Thank you.
Oh, that's really nice. We did have a fun time with that one as well.
Actually, we keep talking about that too, how we really liked the 2 perspectives. And even though they were brothers, they practice very differently.
Yeah, differently.
And it was really cool to hear their back and forth beyond just the questions that we asked them.
Yeah, that was really awesome.
Okay, here's the other one.
So this next one is by David Goza and is titled Awesome. I'm currently in college working on my bachelor's in kinesiology, then plan on pursuing the master's of athletic training. This podcast helps me so much with improving my knowledge and understanding of exactly what I'm looking forward to when I become certified. Sadly, I was still in community college when the change to master's degree happened, but I've wanted to be an ATC since I was in 6th grade. Oh my gosh, that's really cool.
So exciting.
That's really cool.
I want to hear the story of how you knew what an athletic trainer was in 6th grade.
Yeah, seriously.
That's what I want to know. That's really awesome.
But those were so nice.
Yeah. Our community is awesome. You
Yes.
guys are awesome. So back to imposter syndrome. Thanks for that little brief pause there. This first one's anonymous. So they said, I was a non-traditional student older than my cohort, and it made me feel like I stood out and not in the good way. Due to being older, I always felt it was expected of me to have more knowledge and understanding of concepts than my younger classmates, when I really was at the same learning level they were with the material.
True.
I feel like this is where some of the imposter syndrome began, as that I don't belong feeling started to take hold during clinical rounds. I was more reserved, and my hands-on application of items often felt abnormal, although textbook skills were above average, helping to bridge the gap a bit. Then transitioning into my final clinical rounds and early in my professional career, I doubted if I was truly ready for situations, as I was not as go-get-em as the others around me, even after passing my BOC on the first attempt. Once I had transitioned into my professional career, I made it a point to be more aggressive. Ask the questions, research the item, talk with the colleagues and supervisors on items. I soon found out that I was not the only one with this feeling of imposter syndrome. However, others just simply hid it better than me. So since I realized we all have a little bit of that performance anxiety, it started to drastically drop as I moved further into my professional practicing years. Now I gladly offer advice and help students as I can to get them over slumps as I see them pop up.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's crazy to just see how it just like, I don't want to say snowballed, but just like how it started to manifest just the early days as a student and to see it kind of grow. I could see that like depending on your clinical rotations, sometimes that, obviously a lot of them very beneficial. And then sometimes like maybe the situation just doesn't match your vibe. And sometimes that could have a lasting effect.
Yeah, but it's, I think what I took from this story too was also recognition. And,
yes.
And what can you do about that?
Yes, I think a big part of that is like asking the questions, research the item, and talking to others. I think that one is like really, really important. Because again, like same thing, like you're going to come across conditions that you've never heard of. But
well, I mean, that's what your goal is.
Yeah. And, but you definitely have the skills to be able to, well, hey, I don't know this, but I definitely can find out and I can learn about it. So yeah, no, I thought that was really awesome. I think, yeah, asking questions is always good. Just because you're certified doesn't mean you don't have to ask questions anymore.
I think that is, it's hard for me not to just go back to personality types as well.
Yeah.
Because I think some people have a harder time with this than other personalities, and depending on like how you deal with constructive criticism and how you deal with how others view you and how you deal with just different stressors. If you go back to any of our Enneagram episodes or personality episodes that we did at the end of last season, we kind of talk more about this and how certain Enneagrams, I like to call them professional hiders, because they only want to show their best side. And in students who are like this, I find, and even young you don't grow out of it, like as a, right? They have a lot harder time transitioning to becoming certified because they don't want to ask the questions, because they don't want to look dumb. Yeah. Because they want to look like they know it all. Mm-hmm. But the people who admit that they don't have all the answers are the ones who are going to get so much further, because they will be getting the answers as they go. Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
I have learned that the hard way. Like there are so many times that like, even like learning sports, like I wish, so for example, basketball, like again, I'd have zero basketball background. Like I wish in my early years of my career, I asked my basketball coaches more about like the sport and like their drills and stuff like that. Luckily now I have some pretty great basketball coaches that are very open to like me going to practice and me trying to learn and do all this stuff. Awesome. But like, I wish I did that years ago so I could figure out like, this would help my rehab so much more if I asked the questions and didn't stand up there and be like, oh, well, here are their practice modifications based on like what I'm trying to like, people can see through it. Yeah. Like fake it till you make it is not always.
Yeah. Sometimes that's not like there's a time and place, but yeah, sometimes that's not the best. And also too, it is okay to just say like, I don't know. Yeah. And just, I mean, obviously don't quit there, but like, right. There's nothing wrong with saying like, I don't know, but like, I'm going to find out.
But let me find out.
Yeah. And like, let me figure it out.
Yeah. That's the difference.
Yeah.
It's not the give up. It's the finding out more.
Yeah. That brings up a good point about like just being able to be out at practice. I feel like that does help too, to understand what they're doing. Cause I was thinking about what you just said. And like for a long time I worked track. Like that's what I worked. And you know, I didn't really work a lot of team sports, even though like I understood team sports, but I didn't understand like the practice dynamic. Mm-hmm. So being at like women's soccer practice, being at women's basketball practice. Like you just see the drills over and over that they do. And then you start to learn, well, now I know what like a 3-man weave is, right? Now I know like what this drill is.
I have no idea. I've never heard of that.
Right. But now I know what those drills are. So when a coach asks like, well, can they do this? I at least have a better idea. And there were still times that they'd be like, oh, well, can they do this drill? I'm like, I need to see it. What does it look like?
Mm-hmm. I feel like people are willing to work with you if you're genuine.
Yeah, absolutely.
So these first two stories I actually put in because of the contrasting element, and I thought that it would kind of capture no matter like where you're at. The first story talks about how they're still feeling imposter syndrome even after passing their BOC on the first attempt, whereas this one, they're feeling imposter syndrome after not passing on their first attempt. And I'm going to let you read this one.
Yes, this one's by Hailey R. I saw your post about imposter syndrome as an ATC, which I have definitely felt in my career. I graduated with my bachelor degree in 2009, and it took an embarrassing amount of times to pass the BOC, like 13 times. But in 2015, I finally passed and started working as a certified ATC at the same college I graduated from and doing PRN work at the high schools in the area, which, by the way, congrats.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like persistence, resilience.
Resilience, absolutely.
So much we can learn from that.
Hailey continues with, I felt like a huge imposter. Like, am I really doing this? There are so many people around me who are better and with way more experience. Fast forward to 2018 when I started a new job as an athletic trainer in an orthopedic clinic and have to learn how to assist in the OR. Another big moment when I felt like an imposter. I had no clue how to do anything related to the clinic or in the OR. Fast forward to now 2026, and I'm still working as an ATC in an orthopedic clinic and assisting in the OR. And to a degree, the imposter syndrome has gone away, but there are moments when it hits me. A lot of it has mostly been time and experience to get over the imposter mentality, but it was a struggle for a while. But interestingly enough, when I would have a student shadowing me and I was teaching them, I didn't feel like an imposter. I felt like I was doing what my mentors did for me to try and instill that confidence. Oh, that's awesome. That's really cool. That is hard. Like if you're already kind of having that imposter syndrome and then you go into like a completely new setting and you're like, I've never done any of this before. That really kind of makes it hard.
Yeah, it actually was way more prevalent. I don't think I really thought of imposter syndrome. To me, again, was just like not feeling qualified for the role that you're in. But I guess I was thinking like the job you applied for, not like the setting or like who you're working with or like what you're working with. That kind of went over my head. So I think it's kind of cool to hear like that perspective.
Yes, yeah, that was really cool.
I also did ask how other people explain imposter syndrome because I thought that this would be a good like tie-in of what to start with and like so we're all on the same page. And in general, it kind of had two parts. One part, people said either feeling underqualified or not good enough, like in the wrong job. They just got here because of luck. And I think that's the more traditional thought. Another explanation that a lot of people gave were doubting or second guessing their clinical skills or judgment.
I can see that.
Anonymous says, to me, it's feeling unqualified or underqualified despite knowing I've gone through the proper schooling and passed the BOC.
Yeah.
And then Maddy S says, like, you're putting me in charge of a full team and other humans. You're looking to me for advice and answers and to stand up to that coach. I just got here.
You know what's great? I love that one, actually. I love that one a lot. I didn't think about it when I was newly certified, but we look at our our quote unquote baby pictures of when we're certified. And that's what I think now. I look at those old pictures like, God, we were babies. Like,
I know.
You put me in charge of people's lives.
Or even like 6 years ago starting the podcast, like we were babies.
Yeah, we were babies. Yeah, I just look back at those pictures and I'm like, oh my gosh. You trusted me to like have this team and like communicate with coaches and physicians.
Right. It was actually this reminds me, I didn't think about this the entire time we were putting together the episode, but I've thought of it a couple times. It reminded me through some of these stories. I was working baseball And like, again, successfully avoided working baseball for a very long time. If you go back to our baseball episode from a long time ago, it was I think it was prior to me working baseball. And I was like, I will not work baseball. Fast forward to now, one of my favorite sports to work. So we got to update that episode actually.
Yeah, we do actually need to.
Anyway, so I was working baseball in my first year. My first year of working baseball, not my first year certified. But there was a rain delay. And so I'm standing in this like room with the umpires and my student Jonas, shout out Jonas, who's now working in, yep. There you go. Now working in MLB. He's taught me a lot of baseball, so that's awesome. So the umps are talking about like the weather and the forecast and if we're going to call the game or whatever. And at that moment, that's when I realized like, I'm in charge of looking at the weather. Like, I don't think that was like on my radar at all. Like,
get it? Radar.
I knew it was like lightning. I was like, oh yeah. Like we don't have any lightning right now, but I don't think they were like, oh, is it safe for us to continue? And I was like,
maybe.
Let me think about this. Like, so luckily Jonas did come out with his little radar and he's like, it looks like it's, not passing anytime soon. And we're like, oh, okay. Yeah. If it remains this wet, it's probably not safe. Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. But that's sometimes you just have to make a decision like with, what you have. But again, like you're looking at me. Yeah. I've never had to do this before and I was not prepared for this.
I didn't know I was the meteorologist today.
Right. Let me just grab that hat real quick.
Yeah. Athletic training at its finest.
Another question that I asked on our poll, on our Instagram polls was what contributes to your imposter syndrome the most?
Ooh.
And most people said getting things wrong. That was about 56% of people responded with that.
I get that.
Followed by comparison to other ATs, and that was only about 36%. And then other was 8%.
Interesting. I feel like the getting things wrong probably resonates a little bit more with me and when I had, like with my imposter syndrome. That's what I think.
I don't know. I feel like mine must be other because I feel like again, it's like the non-traditional imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Like just the not.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a comparison to other ATs.
Yeah, I never felt that. I never really thought of that as being like a barrier.
I think it's hard now too because social media has taken such a big presence. Actually, sometimes I feel like the social media presence we have, sometimes I'm like, I go back and forth because I'm like, I love having a platform and I would love to post a ton. Also would love to just go off in the mountains and like not
have social media,
like just be off the grid, which we do a lot. So sometimes I'm like, is that imposter syndrome? Is that like...
Good point. That's a good thought.
Right? Brooke N says, just feeling like there is more that I can do, especially working in underprivileged areas. Which I thought that was a really interesting take on imposter syndrome because I feel like we think of imposter syndrome so negatively, but I feel like this is a really almost like a positive spin. Yeah. Like feeling like you're not enough, but like not enough because you want to do more.
Yeah. Or you feel like, man, am I doing enough?
Right. We actually have a really I think it's at the end of this. I think I put it near the end. I gotta find it, but there's one that does spin imposter syndrome, like almost like we need imposter syndrome. Like it's good that we recognize it.
I'm interested to hear that one.
You want to read Maddy's?
Yeah. So Maddy S says, "Oh, mine is 100% getting things wrong." Resonate with that. I felt like I couldn't help unless I knew something absolute or I was perfect at that thing already.
That's hard.
Yeah, that is hard. Because when you first come out, you're The
You're just
BOC
kinda
trusts you.
flying-
Yeah.
Flying by the seat of your pants.
Yeah. The BOC basically says, hey, you won't kill anybody.
Yeah. Another one from Anonymous says, not getting things wrong, more just like not knowing what to do in general.
Yeah, that's fair.
Which I think that this is such an interesting topic too, because so more recently we've had, because my school like works with a lot of different schools who like feed into us for like their MSAT like preceptors. So like I think we have 3 schools that we work with who come.
Dope.
So we're preceptors for like 3 different schools, and one of the schools just recently started sending some of the students like in the summer, which at first it was like, dang, what are you going to do in the summer? Like I'm just doing a ton of admin work. I mean, like we do have a lot of people who come in, but like at the same time, like
a lot of
I'm just meeting you, and like I'm sitting on the computer like a lot. But then I started involving them in the computer work and realizing like my preceptors, probably because of time, like I didn't really get to see a lot of that computer work. And so I think like getting out into the real world, it's like what
do I do?
Yeah. There was a lot of learning on the job in some of the paperwork stuff. So I think it's really important to be able to like, if you're a student, like ask your preceptors about their admin work. And if you are a certified or a preceptor, like it'd be great to share that. Also just knowing what other people do. But this is what that reminds me of, is just like not knowing what to do in general. Like you're really good at getting prepped for like orthopedic stuff, but what about all the rest of the stuff?
Yeah.
What about when someone asks you if it's safe to play in the water?
No, I think that's the part too, is like, okay, like how do you make restrictions? Like how do you communicate the restrictions, and how do you base your restrictions? Because they're going to ask, because it's not always cut or dry, can you play or not?
Right.
Like 90% of the time, if you're not able to play the full sport, you can still do something.
Right.
So, and that one's always hard. It's like, okay, how do you tell someone, or how do you make your judgment call on, well, you can do this activity, but not this one. Or like, how do you limit minutes? Like I get that one a lot, because like obviously I do that one for basketball, but like how do you come up with like minute restrictions?
It's hard.
I know that, and I get asked that question. I'm like, I don't know. I just go off of like,
it's a judgment call.
Yeah, it's kind of a judgment call.
It's like a feeling.
Yeah.
It's the vibes.
Honestly, it's kind of the vibe. Like, I don't know.
It comes with experience.
Kind of, yeah. Like you have to just be at a basketball game to kind of know that like, well, 2 minutes of basketball is basically nothing.
It's a lot of stopping.
Yeah, it's a lot of stopping.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I get that. And then like you said, the paperwork thing, like that's a big one, is having them know, because the admin, like the students hear it. They like, it's very important, like the admin stuff, and like obviously for reliability stuff, but also like just showing value, try to advocate. Like admin's so important, but like it's really sometimes hard to get the students involved, because some of it's time, right? Like I just got to do this. And like, I don't know. I think for me as a preceptor, like I feel weird when I'm just doing computer work and they're there and I'm like, they probably think I'm like really boring right now.
I know, all the time.
But you're right. Like trying to include them with that. So I try to do that too.
But also like knowing that like it will take longer if you're like doing your computer work and like involving someone, like it's going to take a lot longer.
And sometimes you just need to like, I just got to get this done.
Right. So you want to read this next one?
Yeah. So Angelo S says, my imposter syndrome came less from a feeling of not having the clinical skill set to be a successful athletic trainer, but more from working a sport I'm unfamiliar
That's what
with.
I feel.
Yes, that's what you were saying.
Any unfamiliar sport, it's like, someone help me.
I worked D1 swimming and diving, and I took the job in my first year as a certified athletic trainer. Working swim and dive has come with a good amount of culture shock that no amount of research into injuries or mechanics could have prepared me for.
Yep.
The imposter syndrome hits the hardest when coming up with modifications to allow athletes to swim while keeping chronic or acute injuries under control. Yeah.
I mean, that's tough. It's not an easy answer.
Yeah. The whole idea that 1 or 2 days out of the water will result in losing the feeling of the water was a foreign concept for me, and reading swim practices can sometimes feel like reading a foreign language. In the end, I remind myself that asking the coaches questions to better understand practice plans and making modifications using my best clinical judgment is all I need to do to keep the athlete's best interest in mind. Yeah, honestly, just trying to show a willingness to learn, I feel like really gets a lot of buy-in from coaches and athletes on sports that you're not familiar with.
And some coaches are easier to work with than others.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, even in the sports that I know the most, and even in performing arts, which I know really well, like I'm still asking questions, even though like that is something that I lived.
Yeah.
I think it feels easier to ask questions in those realms because you're like, it doesn't feel like it's a stupid question.
Yeah. And also, you're right. Sometimes practice plans, it's like, this is Greek.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm looking at.
When I was first, very early on in learning like the football world, I would always ask for practice plans, and then I'd follow along and I'd ask a lot of questions, and then I'd ask like any of the guys who are like out on the sidelines or anything. I'd be like, tell me one thing that I don't know about football, and then they would tell me things, and sometimes it'd be something that I knew, and sometimes I'd be like, oh, I know that. And then sometimes like they would tell me something that I don't know, and I'd be like, oh, cool, like let me learn more into this. Yeah. And sometimes they would say something completely over my head that was like so far beyond my understanding that I was like, okay, wait, I need this, like
I need to 5 more steps before that.
Right.
Yeah.
And that helped me a lot.
Nice. That's awesome.
This one from Anonymous says, all of the above. Sometimes I feel like my coworker is critiquing me or I'm not as good as he is. I feel like I should know things 16 years certified. He's about 7 years older. Full disclosure, I started a new position in late August. Before then, I've been on my own for 4 years. Now having a coworker is a blessing, but it's also causing me to second guess myself because I see how well he does things and compare myself. But I shouldn't. I'm a great AT. We get along great and we are great co-heads. It's hard, though, because everyone knows and trusts him, and I'm the newbie.
Yeah, that one's hard.
Being the newbie sucks.
Yeah, being the newbie sucks.
Being the new athletic trainer, like, no matter how old you are, / also being a new athletic trainer.
Yeah, that just sucks.
I think that also goes back to, like, as people have... I mean, once you become certified, like, you can go a complete different route than someone else.
Yeah.
I think the people who, I mean, even before that, like people who have rotations with other students versus people who are at rotations alone. Like most of my rotations were alone.
Yeah.
So like when I got to a rotation that there were other students, I was like, whoa, this is crazy. And then like having jobs that like I always had, it was like I was always alone or like was actually, yeah, when I first started, I was always alone, which I was very adamant. I was like, I do not want to be alone because I would love to learn from other people. Yeah. And then I ended up working alone a ton. But luckily, like I learned a ton from Randy and other mentors. And that's why mentorship is so important.
Yeah.
But not everyone was like that. Like some people went into a job that they had a whole, like Randy's first job as a GA, you had like how many on the staff?
Total, including the other GAs and myself, I think we were at 9 ATs.
And then the next place you worked at was 14.
Yeah.
And so like I had never been at a place that had that many people.
Yeah.
So like even that like is so different. If we had worked at the same place after that, like it's just a completely different experience.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So another question I asked was, if you've ever felt imposter syndrome, did you ever get past the feeling?
Ooh, nice.
Only 19% of people said yes.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, sorry. Only 19% of people said yes, 100% I got past the feeling.
Okay.
40% of people said mostly, 38% said partly, and 3% said not at all.
Ooh.
So 3% are still dealing with it.
Yeah.
Who knows how new that is though, right?
Yeah.
But it seems like it's a mostly partly, I was very intrigued by this because, I mean, I think anytime that we hear like a negative emotion, we want, or like even like mental health issues, like you want to know, like, does it get better?
Yeah.
Right. And it seems like, I mean, there's a good chunk of people who it does.
Yeah.
And actually, I should say there's a huge chunk of people who say that it does get better.
Yeah.
There is a solid chunk of people who say that it hasn't crept back in.
Yeah.
But I'm just really intrigued by this. Like, I feel like you just more learn to work with it,
like cope.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's
important.
Yeah, it goes for a lot of things.
Yeah. No, that is important to learn to kind of cope with it and start working. It doesn't just happen overnight either.
Right.
Like you just wake up one day like, I don't feel like an imposter anymore.
Right.
Right. So it does take working at it and coping.
This one from Anonymous says, hearing other people's outside opinion of my career is hard. Things were always talked about in front of my friends or said to my friends. They didn't know that we were actually good friends until they stood up for me. I've also had people I thought were friends who I guess became jealous of my career trajectory and began to spread rumors. LOL, it's a mess. But my mindset did change. It was especially hard losing people who I thought were friends, but end up being the thing that I needed to happen because I couldn't have had those same people come with me into the next season of life. The noise never stopped. It probably has actually gotten worse since working now with a well-known entity full-time. But now I know how to work through that noise and just be the best who I can be.
Nice. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Another person says, it's been a lot of working through my own insecurities, but it's never fully gone. I'm lucky that I have a work environment now that values me not just as a clinician, but as a person too.
That's important. Being valued just as a human is it really says a lot about the work environment.
You are more than just your clinical skill set.
Correct. Weird.
What a concept. Should be everywhere.
Yeah.
Unfortunately is not.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Another Anonymous says, as a new grad, I feel like I won't get past the feeling until I successfully bring an athlete from injury to full return to play with zero complaints. I'm only a few months in, so far I feel better hearing that my athletes are getting better, but I won't feel quite there until I hear that they are back to 100%. Kind of like making that goal.
Yeah. For sure.
So enough about this, like, idea of what imposter syndrome is and like, do we ever get past it? But like, what do we do about it?
Yeah.
How do you cope?
I think that's a good place to go.
I did try to summarize these to try to figure out how people coped in general, but it seemed like people kind of went different ways with these. They either really focused on making themselves better. So they were like, I don't feel qualified. I need to do more so I feel qualified. Or they were like, I don't feel qualified. I need to remind myself why I am qualified. So they kind of did like more reminding themselves of their worth. Or they said, I don't feel qualified. Let me turn to my village and figure out what I need to, like, I need help.
What I need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the examples of how to remind yourself of your worth is from Sofia W. You want to read this one?
Yes. Sophia says, I have a Word document where I have every single piece of positive feedback, commentary, or review I have ever gotten. When I start feeling like an imposter, I go back through the document and remind myself that even if I don't always know the answer, these people appreciate me and I knew how to help them. The document came from all the way back to when I was a student. It really helped me as a student when I would get burned out because there were certifieds and student athletes that really believed in me, and it just brought back so much hope and passion. That's awesome. It is always nice to look back at just the things that people have done to show you their appreciation. And it's a good reminder.
I feel like we've talked about this multiple times, but it's so easy to focus on the negative and not the positive. So things like this, like I was so excited to get this story because I think it's like so important to remember and celebrate those things. Like just like how Julie Max sat me down one day and was like, you need to celebrate your wins.
Yeah.
And I was like, I will celebrate my wins. Okay. And now like we do like even like new reviews or like little things that might not seem a lot to like other people, but like we try to make even the littlest things meaningful. And so this is actually something that I have now passed on to my students. This reminded me also at the end, and if you are my student, close your ears for a second because this is a gift that I give at the end of the semester. But I do a box that it's an empty box. Actually, I started for them. I put pictures from the semester in there.
That's awesome.
The whole goal of it is a place that has been started for you to put things in, like good memories, good things, emails that you got that say thank you, or text messages, or screenshot them, print them out, put them in this box so that you, when you're having a bad day, which is inevitable, you can open this box and you can remember what's led you up to this point, and you can remember that why, whatever you want to add into it. But it's like an athletic training box. But this is also like, I like that word, like it's accessible. It is like easy copy paste, put it in there.
Yeah, I really like that because, again, like on those days where you may not feel like you're the best or you don't feel really good about it, there's countless people that think you were the best athletic trainer ever for them.
Right.
So I think that's always important to remind yourself in general.
Robert B says, the biggest strategy I had for getting over imposter syndrome is I kept a journal. Whenever I would feel imposter syndrome and not feel good enough, I would write down about the situation, everything. The interaction, the evaluation, the rehab, communication, whatever. It would help me process things. And then I'd look at the next day. Was that a real response or purely a panic response? What can I learn from this situation? How would I wish that it had gone? What could I do better next time? If you don't measure it, you don't grow. And this helps guide personal growth. I also asked Robert, like, how, I know he said like the next day, but like, how did he determine when to like read it? He said, typically he does read it like the day after. Usually the day of, he says, would help me get my emotions out in a healthy fashion and begin processing. I wanted the thoughts out of my head as best as possible so I could rest and review the encounter in a fresh mind. Sometimes this worked, sometimes it didn't, but you learn either way.
Yeah, for sure. Also, too, this is a great plug for like if you really don't know how to journal or like feel weird about journaling, the AT Daily Journal.
Same page. I was just about to say that too.
It has really good prompts to kind of just stimulate just that kind of just reflection juices.
They are all written. Well, it's written by an athletic trainer.
Yep. Two athletic trainers. I believe.
I think they're both athletic trainers. Yeah. Joel Ludke and Rick Cox, and they are. Well, first of all, Joel is an amazing human being. Like, we are so lucky to get to work with him.
Absolutely.
And even if we didn't work with him, we would plug this anyway because the AT Daily Journal is super awesome. Even like if that's something that like if you are someone who like likes to write things out, the prompts in there are made by athletic trainers for athletic trainers, and it's not just like cheesy.
No.
We shared some stuff on our Instagram page, and then also I think we did some in past podcasts as well, or you could just reach out. They also have an Instagram too. Yeah. So little plug. But yeah, I really like this idea of like just getting it out, getting it down. Some people like it's easier for them to like talk it out, and some people it's easier for them to write it out. Like I know for me it used to be a lot easier for me to write it out, but now like it's a lot easier to talk it out. I think before, like, it just depends on like what feels less vulnerable to you, I guess.
Yeah. Or intimidating.
Right. Oh, here's the one that I was talking about.
Oh, okay.
From Scott M. You want to read it?
Yeah. So Scott says, have a potentially uncommon opinion here. Imposter syndrome is a good thing. We often get this idea that imposter syndrome is an unjustified lack of confidence, and it's a bad thing. And we just need to give ourselves reminders and affirmations to get over it. However, I'm of the belief that imposter syndrome is a key characteristic of a self-aware high performer and a lifelong learner. I think the alternative is blind confidence without earning it. And in terms of the comparison aspect, that's a good thing. If you're looking at other clinicians and realizing that they know more than you, have more developed skills than you, etc., that's a sign of self-awareness as a clinician. It's what you do with those feelings that makes the difference. Do you either A, feel negative and wallow in self-pity for not knowing more, or B, do you use that to drive you toward learning new content, new topics and skills to close the gap and therefore diminish the feelings of being an imposter?
It is 100% what you do with it.
100. Yeah, I agree. That's a good thought on there. I like it.
There's a really good analogy that I think could apply to this situation as well, really well. And it's basically this idea that like it is always going to rain. No matter where you live, it's going to rain.
Yeah.
Are you the type of person who is going to yell at the sky and be like, why is it raining? Or are you going to grab your umbrella and go on with your day?
Yeah.
And that's the difference between, like, it sounds like 98% of people on our poll, and that's like a couple hundred athletic trainers, right?
Yeah.
You're going to experience this. It could be you experience this every single day, or you could just experience it once in your career, or you could experience it like from time to time. Who knows? But what are you going to do with it when it happens?
Yeah.
And I think that is what this is trying to get.
Yeah, for sure. I like that.
Potentially uncommon, but
I think
like
it's very thought-provoking, for sure.
Right. I think it's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
Another positive one from Kristin O says, I think one of the beautiful things about our profession is that it is ever growing, evolving, and there's always something new to learn, whether those are special tests, modalities, diagnoses, etc. And there is always a chance to get better. You will never know everything, but recognizing we have put a lot of time and energy to know what we know, have some faith in yourself. I also always like to be honest with my athletes if it's something that I've never personally seen or worked with, and they usually appreciate the mix of confidence and honesty, especially if you have a good trusting relationship.
Yeah.
Which it sounds like a lot of us do.
Yeah.
That's what we pride ourselves on. I also like to collaborate with mentors and other professionals, so joining Facebook groups and having a network is super beneficial. Everybody finds a niche or a topic that they love and feel super confident with. And on the flip side, everyone has I'm not super confident or comfortable with this.
Yeah.
Even people who've been practicing for 20 years. And that's okay. It makes us human. And reinforces the need for us to work together and help each other. Uncharted and uncomfortable waters are scary, but that's when we learn and grow the most.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Right? If you stayed in your comfort zone your entire career,
but it's comfortable.
But it's not going to get you anywhere.
That's true.
I think too, recognizing like what type of, like not even just like how you cope, but like knowing yourself and your personality.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I will overthink everything. And like, there are times that like if you go back like early in my career, when I worked a lot of per diem, I saw so many emergency scenarios that like, it was like the back of my hand. I'd run an emergency scenario. And then for a couple of years, I didn't have to call 911. And even though I had done it way earlier in my career and when I was way less confident, way less capable, had way less knowledge, like later in my career after not doing it for a while, I was like second guessing, like or I'd think about it like, man, can I still run an emergency scenario? Like, and so it made me want to like run more scenarios or run more, like go over the steps and stuff. And then boom, had an emergency scenario. And it's like, again, the back of my hand. And it's like that just, it just like sometimes if you're like an overthinker like me, like it just is noise in your brain.
Yeah.
And what does it take to kind of get past that?
Yeah.
Maybe just doing it or maybe it's because we did practice or like who knows, but again, having faith in yourself or just knowing like you'll be okay.
Yeah.
Like you will figure it out.
Yeah, for sure.
If put to the test, you will figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to read this one from Mason B.
Yeah, Mason says, my entire first semester certified is a blur. Oh, 100%. Absolutely, it is. I don't remember that football season. I was alone at a high school flying by the seat of my pants. I didn't really know which way was up. It's such a true statement. I feel that. What actually helped me was I was essentially building the program from scratch. So I sat down most days and hammered out parts of a policies and procedures manual. By the time I finished it, it was close to 150 pages and followed every best practice I could find. I essentially built myself a framework I could follow and make all my decisions behind. The policies and procedures manual actually became the basis for the operations manual for every single high school the company does outreach to. I know this because I came back to this company and just redid the entire thing. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It's kind of cool too, like seeing, like this is such a unique perspective of going back to like his now self and then his early self. Like I like looking back, like when, because I don't think I saw any ACL rehabs like as a student. And then early certified, like I had no ACL tears. Like literally, like that was not something I saw. Like one, I think, in my first year, and so like and I didn't do the rehab. So like there was like not a lot that I was going off of. So of course in my head I'm like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do when I have to do an ACL rehab? So I like hit the research and you know, put together these protocols and like wrote these like plans. And now that I do like ACL rehabs, like I reference those, and like it's funny because you can definitely tell it's coming from someone who had no experience. Like, and it was like, oh, that sounds good in theory, but like in practice, like,
yeah, what are the limitations with that?
Right. So, it's kind of cool to like be able to go back and like see that from a different perspective.
Oh, absolutely.
So it sounds like some people wrote things out. I also asked if you've had imposter syndrome, if you've ever talked it out with someone.
Yeah.
And 74% of people actually said yes, and 26 said no.
Nice.
26%. So of course I asked who, because that is, you know, is it someone in the profession? Is it someone out of the profession? Anonymous says they talk to friends who are ATs who I know won't judge me.
No, that's good. Yeah, you definitely don't want a judgmental space.
No, that would not help.
No.
Maddy S says everybody, LOL, coworkers, mom, husband, peers. What doesn't help me is when someone placates me. Oh, you're going to be fine. You're overreacting. I need to talk through things, not be coddled.
That's fair.
Yeah. It seems like a lot of people, I mean, it kind of like when we do like the mentor questions, it's kind of like, well, who are you comfortable with?
Yeah.
I think that's really the most, I mean, we can sit here and say like 98% of people said an AT, but if that's not the person you're comfortable, like if you don't have an athletic trainer who you're comfortable with, then like, it's not going to work, right?
Yeah.
And then also, like, if you are not comfortable just talking things out, then maybe it's better if you write things down or find, like, a journal.
Yeah.
I also asked if you've ever tried using affirmations to cope with imposter syndrome. 30% of people said yes, which actually I thought was actually higher than I was expecting. 48% of people said no, and 23% said no, I don't think it would help. One affirmation, actually the reason why I asked this is because when we were working with Erica Marcano, who is a shining star in the athletic training space, especially like the burnout space.
Yes.
At Notorious ATC is her Instagram handle. She is so like I am not like a like emotional like I kind of hate that stuff, but like this like so affirmations were like that is not my cup of tea. But actually one that I learned from her that I use all the time is I am exactly where I need to be. And I think that this is very applicable to imposter syndrome.
Yes.
Because you don't need to be 20 years certified when you first graduate.
Yeah.
You don't need to know everything when you first graduate. Even 10 years into your certification, like you don't need to be at the same place as someone who's been doing this for 30 years.
Yeah.
Or even if you're like 20 years certified, you don't need to be in the same place to someone who's been at their job for a lot longer. Like been at the same place.
Yeah. I liked that one too.
Do you use any affirmations?
No, that would be the one that I would use. And like you said, referencing like even the course that we took with Erica was huge in helping kind of resolve that kind of imposter syndrome. And that was a big one that I remember is I'm exactly where I need to be.
Mm-hmm. That one I say like during the national anthem. I heard that affirmations are best used when you use them in like a neutral or a positive time rather than only like you're like in a bad mood and you use an affirmation. Like it's not necessarily
you're not getting the benefit.
Yeah. Like I wish I could talk more about that, and because there was definitely a reason. Maybe look that up. But like before every game, whenever the national anthem's playing, I usually like that's what I go to. I am exactly where I need to be. If I have students, then I say my students are exactly where they need to be.
Nice. I like that one.
Yeah.
That's good.
And then lastly, I put in some tips on building confidence. In general, it sounds like athletic trainers build confidence by accepting imperfection. That's a hard one to do.
Yeah.
This also is like expecting mistakes, not avoiding them.
That one's important.
Staying eager to learn, proving competence through action over time. So basically trusting yourself to handle uncertainty, learn from mistakes, and keep showing up.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. I like that a lot about trusting yourself to handle uncertainty because that is true.
Even if things don't go well, I can still handle it.
Yeah.
And I think
that is a good barometer of confidence.
When is the last time that things went perfectly well?
In athletics? Never. Nothing ever goes well with athletics. It's quite wild to me that athletics just tends to be a logistical nightmare just all the time.
When I went, I used to work contracted down to a cruise line, and whenever I would go as an athletic trainer to work with the performing arts on board, they would always be so excited that I was an athletic trainer and not some other healthcare professional, because they said that whenever they had an athletic trainer who would come to the cruise ship, we would be the most flexible and understanding when plans change, or like sometimes we couldn't get on the ship because of some security thing, or because they had a change in plans, or sometimes no one like needed an athletic trainer or medical health care or whatever. And so like we would drive down there and sometimes like plans would just change, and they said the athletic trainers handle it the best, but it's because that's what we do all the time.
That's what we do all the time.
Whereas I think other people and other professions, it's just not within like
it's not their day to day.
Right. And so they were always excited to have an athletic trainer.
Yeah. I mean, we're pretty cool.
We're
pretty dope.
But again, like being able to handle when things go wrong.
Yeah, 100%.
I also think, and I'm kind of get stuck on this idea sometimes, but like perfection is so overrated.
Yeah. I get
like,
that.
I feel like think of the most perfect person you know.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe perfect is like in the eye of the beholder, right?
Yeah.
So they're actually not perfect. Like, there are things that make them human. I think the closer that you get to perfect, the more that people actually hate it.
Yeah.
Like, people don't like perfect. And
For sure.
I think for people,
Like real.
yeah, exactly. For people pleasers, I think that's hard.
Yeah.
Like a hard pill to swallow. Yeah, like people like goofy, people like chill.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they don't like rigid.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
for sure. They like the vibes.
Exactly. And that is far from perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Maybe unperfect is perfect.
It is perfect.
Another tip to build confidence is I tell my athletes, I don't know, but I will get you the answer.
Yes. Heck yeah.
Processing failure with a partner, friend, where you can verbalize feeling / get an outside perspective.
For sure. Going back to that kind of second point, I think that also shows a good barometer of confidence, is being confident to say, I don't know, but I can find the answer.
Yeah.
I think that shows some confidence as well.
Mm-hmm.
To not try to like sit there and like be like, oh, well, I'll guess.
Right.
Just be like, I don't know, but you know what? I'll find out.
Right.
I know how to find out.
I mean, that's more helpful anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Practice, practice, practice. It's also something I tell my students now too. Practice and be so good with whatever skill you have the least confidence in that it becomes second nature.
Yeah, for sure.
And then last one from Maddy S. This is my 7th year being certified, and there were a couple times these past few years when I made a decision and I was like, wow, I remember fucking that up my first year. And now look at me. That came so easy to me. Or when I have a student and see them make a mistake that I made, I'm like, wow, I've come a long way, which has also helped me be patient with students.
Yeah, for sure. I do like that one because, yeah, there are times you look back when you're a student, like, or not a student, but when you were like newly certified first year or whatever, you're like, oh, yeah, dude, that wish I could have that one back.
Luckily, there aren't any off the top of my head, but there are definitely moments that come up that I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
This was a fun, I would say I was expecting it to be a little bit more negative, but I think it was actually.
It was good. It was a fun requested episode.
Yes. Do you have any more on imposter syndrome? Anything you want to leave with the people?
Kind of what I tell my students. It gets easier.
It does, but then other problems come at you.
Yeah. The problems that you're having now get easier, but then because those got easier, you get newer problems that are like, oh, that's a little more complicated.
I feel like for me, it was like I got out of the gates like, hell yeah, I am a certified athletic trainer. And then I don't know how long it took for me to have the realization, like, because like I was on a high for a while. And then I was like, oh, I actually, the more I learn, the more I know.
Yeah.
The more I realize that I know nothing. And then I think that like realization,
yeah,
my confidence was like, it was like really high, and it was like straight down. Like, oh, actually, I am. So I feel like I started off better than like
others.
No, I started off better than I ended up for a while.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, I think asking questions is really a strong strategy, especially if you're new, like just newly certified.
I think honestly, just learning that most everyone deals with it to an extent.
Yeah, I think that's hopefully refreshing.
Like normalizing it.
Yeah, for sure.
So if you guys are new, we do every episode as a story episode like this one, or we do interviews where we bring on people, experts in their field on a highlight topic, or Randy highlights our education episodes that we do, continuing education units for athletic trainers. And that's where he reads a bunch of articles and we kind of talk about them conversationally, and you can get CUs for it thanks to Athletic Training Chat and Clinically Pressed. If you guys are interested in any of the things that we talked about in this episode, because I feel like we did a lot of random plugs. So
we did actually.
Yeah, we kind of did. We will try to link as much as we can, remember, in the show notes down below. And if it's not there, you are always welcome to message us on Instagram or reach out via email, which is also down below. I think that's all I have.
Thank you for helping us showcase athletic training behind the tape. Bye.